Hey everybody, Mike Toy Bonsai Boise. This is one of two Amur maples that I have, not including some of the smaller seedlings. And it's pretty overgrown, so I'm going to prune it up and I'll give you a look at its history and how it's gotten from point A to point B over the past 5 or so years. So come with me and let's take a look. So here it is back in April of 2019, so about 5 years ago. Started as a seedling. That's a clip from the video that I made of it back then. Who knows what I'm talking about. At the time I had probably 3 or 4. I think one of them died, one of them I sold. But yeah, all these started from seed. There's a Amur maple tree outside of my gym, and I was walking out one day and I saw a bunch of seeds and I grabbed them, put them in a pot, left them over the fall and winter, and then in the spring they all sprouted up. So they grow from seed really easy. So there was the first 3. And then fast forward about 6 months or so. So they get really good fall color. And it grew out quite a bit too. So it's really, I wouldn't have considered it a bonsai tree just yet at this stage. Still a pre-bonsai, but getting there. Fast forward about 1.5 years. Here are the 2 that were remaining. So now they're starting to look like little miniature trees, although there is some structural issues that need to be addressed here. I'm sure I'm saying something really witty and amazing. So it looks like I'm catching it right as it's starting to leaf out, which is a little tad bit too late for repotting, and you want to catch it right before the buds burst if you can, but it's turned out okay. Now fast forward a couple of years from there, I unfortunately didn't get a lot of video footage between those 2 points, but here it is in May of 2023. It's got some really good Navari down there and some root spread at the base. It needs a little bit of correction on some of that, but we're off to a good start. And it's really branching out well. But it's a double-edged sword with these Amur maples. They, structurally speaking, they like to push out 4, 5, 6 branches from the same spot, and they do that all over. So you're going to see that theme quite a bit here. There it is after I pruned it up a bit. I didn't really go heavy. Something else I've noticed about these is that at times they can be really finicky, and not just this one, but others that I've had as well. They can be a little finicky when you trim them. I still don't really know why they do sometimes and other times they don't. But at times I'll prune them up and they just sort of stop growing for the rest of the year. And that's kind of what happened here a little bit. It grew out a little more, but as you can see, here it is. Was that about 3 months later, middle or end of summer, and it's not really grown out at all. The leaves are crispy because it's just the old leaves. It didn't push out any new leaves. So it's weird how it does that. Here it is in May of 2024, this year. So it really pushed out a lot of new growth this spring. So I was very happy about that. Still has some bark in there from when it was buried over the winter. In the back of my mind, I was a little nervous just knowing what happened last year when I pruned it up. It didn't respond well. It just stopped growing, and they've done that for me in the past too. I've talked to a few others who work on these, and watched a lot of videos on it. I think Dave over in Minnesota, he's got some, so I always watch his videos. Dave, love your videos. And some people have that issue and some people don't. So I really don't know. I'm going to kind of fast forward here. You can see how thick it is. So I'm really just kind of going slowly in reality. I'm just sort of nipping around the edge and just working my way in, kind of seeing how I want to attack this thing, because it's hard to tell what's going on in there. I'll show you an example. You see where there's a big cluster, just so many leaves and branches coming out of the same spot. If you don't stay on top of that, you can end up with reverse taper. Once you get reverse taper, it takes a long time to correct it, if you can ever correct it. So it's better to stay on top of it and prevent it, which means sometimes the tree is going to be in a bit of an awkward state, because you're going to have to make cuts where you didn't want to make cuts. Here's a look at it there. These Amur maples, they remind me a lot of trident maples if you compare them, at least the leaf shape. The difference is a trident maple, it's got 3 lobes like this one, except all 3 are kind of the same size, whereas this one, that middle lobe is longer. But otherwise they're kind of similar. They both have great leaf color. They both grow really well. They're not being dramatic about getting pruned. So here was its ending state this past May. I sort of held my breath thinking, I don't know what to expect. It could just stay like this for the rest of the year. Also, I had some another issue that I noticed once I was done. I up potted it into that bigger pot. You may or may not notice. But I realized it was extremely root bound. Didn't get it on video. It was after the fact. So I just slip potted it into that. And now here it is as present day. Or actually about 10 days ago. As you can see, it was not dramatic this time. It responded very well, which is both a relief and a surprise. I don't know why sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So I guess all I can do for now is just kind of keep on keeping on with the way I do things and hope for the best. Yeah, and that other pot that it was in, it was very root bound. It was actually hard to pull it out of there. So I'll have to check that early spring next year to see if it needs to be pruned up on the roots or not. Slip potting it might have been a fix for another year, who knows. So here's an example of some of that trouble I was telling you about. See where it just wants to pop out branches right in the elbow of other branches. Kind of hard to get my camera in there, but like there, 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 all over there. So you really just got to keep an eye out for that and stay on top of it and be patient with it, because it just takes longer to, grow and thicken, because you're really kind of hard pruning it a lot rather than small nips. There's another example. So that might be kind of an indirect answer to why sometimes it leaves out well and sometimes it doesn't. It could just be that it responds better to hard pruning than it does light pruning. Because I light pruned it last year and it never grew back out. Whereas this year I went back a little harder and it responded better. Speaking of hard pruning, wait till you see how this one goes. I didn't set out to do a hard prune. I really didn't. But as I went through, see there you can see like 5 branches coming out of one spot. as I went through, I started looking at the structure of this thing going, You can see some of those mustache handlebar branches. Meaning like two branches coming off of the same spot on the trunk. You don't want that. That's how you get the reverse taper. I've been kicking that can down the road for quite a while. I know some big corrections are needed, and I've known that they're coming, but it's just had such a cool look to it, this traditional kind of upright style, that I've hesitated. So I'm seeing spots like that. See where the thicker branch is going upward and the thinner branch is down below? That is an opportunity where I can get rid of the thicker branch, assuming I don't break the small branch I'm trying to keep. Looks like I did. But, as I was saying, that's an opportunity to get rid of the thicker branch, keep the thinner branch. You want thin branches up top. By contrast, it makes the trunk look thicker. And it looks more realistic. So I pruned it pretty heavy that day. And I'm not even done yet. While we're looking, I'll give you a few fun facts about these Amur maples. From what I read, they are native to the Korean peninsula and that area in Asia. Some spots in China and Japan. Here they, in some spots, are considered invasive because they're just so prolific with their seeds, which is true. Every Amur maple that I've seen, just, in a field or wherever, they've always got seeds. And they grow so easy from seeds, so I can see why they might be invasive. Are you noticing what I'm doing here? I'm starting to get kind of drastic with my pruning. So what I'm doing there and what I'm looking at is when I'm looking at a trunk line and I'm looking at the branching, I try to get the branching to go every other. And there was the end result. So I don't want a branch on the right, a branch on the left, then another branch on the left, then one on the right. That looks weird to me. So I try to go every other, branch on the left, branch on the right, branch on the left, branch on the right. If possible, but not in a uniform machine kind of way. Just if I can. So it looks brutal, I know. And I kind of had a little bit of remorse afterward. You ever get like buyer's remorse where you do something drastic and you kind of like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Yeah, I was sort of having that moment. I'm being careful when I'm paste up those big cuts with some cut paste. A few people have asked me what kind of paste that is. I honestly do not know. I got it from Amazon. It's got Japanese letters on it, and my Japanese is not very good. Last count, I don't speak it at all, so I don't know, but it costs about $9 on Amazon. So easy to find. But stay tuned. Here in a second, I'll show you another update just since then, just maybe 2 weeks after this, 10 days to 2 weeks, which made me feel a lot better. Because yes, I did have a little bit of that remorse, but at the same time, it needed to be done. It had to be done sooner or later. The structuring was not well. Here it is about 10 days after that. If you look real closely, you'll see new buds popping out. In some spots, maybe too many, like there, 2 and 3 in one spot. But that's happening all over it, which was a big relief to me. So this is one of 2. I'll post the other one here in a few days so you can see the updates and progress on that one. In the meantime, please like and subscribe. Get updates on this and other trees as well. And I appreciate everybody who does. Thanks for watching this video on my Amur Maple. Have a good rest of your day.